France is stepping up its support for Ukraine, providing crucial financial aid, weapons, and training for their armed forces. The recent sale of Mirage 2000 fighter planes to Kyiv highlights this commitment. Ukrainian officials are particularly grateful for the high-quality training offered by Western nations, with France leading the charge. As Ukraine faces a relentless Russian offensive, they've urgently requested more trained troops. In response, Paris is deepening its involvement, even bringing in contractors from Defense Consile International. However, the process hasn't been smooth. A tender for training was cancelled due to irregularities, causing delays. Meanwhile, with rising anti-French sentiments in Africa, France is shifting its strategy, increasingly relying on private military and security companies to maintain influence on the continent. For over 20 years, France hesitated to develop a robust PMSC ecosystem to defend its interests. But since the start of the Russian special military operation in February 2022, things have changed. France has supplied Ukraine with weapons and equipment worth €2.615 billion and contributed €1.2 billion to the European Peace Facility. That's over €3.8 billion in total aid, though still less than Germany, the UK, and Sweden. Facing criticism for lagging behind, President Macron has now pledged up to €3 billion in military aid for 2024. France is finally stepping up on the global stage.
On October 14th, Minister of the Armed Forces, Sébastien Lecornu, announced a budget adjustment, stating France's military support for Ukraine would exceed €2 billion, but not reach €3 billion. Since 2022, France has trained over 15,000 Ukrainian soldiers through the EU's military assistance mission and bilateral agreements. Last June, during Volodymyr Zelensky's visit for the Normandy landing's 80th anniversary, President Macron pledged to fully equip and train an entire brigade of the Ukrainian army, starting this September. This commitment highlights France's ongoing support for Ukraine in these challenging times.
Approximately 1,500 French soldiers from the Champagne Task Force have been training 2,300 personnel from the End of Kyiv Brigade for 3 months. This brigade, named after the 11th century princess who became Queen of France, is now fully operational. The training simulated real battlefield conditions, incorporating trenches, stress, and even drones. It included phases focused on weapons, equipment, and unit integration. Soon, they'll be equipped with 128 armored vehicles, 18 Caesar howitzers, and more, ready to face the challenges ahead. This collaboration is a testament to the strength and resilience of our forces. France is stepping up its support for Ukraine by training pilots and mechanics, particularly for the Mirage 2005 fighter jets, with deliveries expected in 2025. To meet the growing demand, Paris is ramping up training from 1 soldier a month to several hundred. However, a shortage of instructors has led to a partnership with Defense Consile International, securing a €24 million contract to train more Ukrainian soldiers over the next year. This initiative aims to enhance the skills of over 15,000 troops already trained, showcasing France's commitment to bolstering Ukraine's defense capabilities. Last March, a significant notice was presented, mandating private competitors to secure export licenses for crucial training services. This training unfolds in 3 key modules. First, it dives into the technical and tactical aspects of maintaining weapon systems supplied by France, like the VAB light armored cars and AMX-10 RCRs for the Ukrainian armed forces. The second module focuses on comprehensive training for battalion-level combat units, covering everything from operational procedures to mission planning. Finally, the third module emphasizes linguistic support, ensuring effective communication with 1 interpreter for every 10 Ukrainian soldiers. This multifaceted approach is vital for enhancing Ukraine's defense capabilities.
The training of Ukrainian soldiers is a complex operation involving a significant number of interpreters, at least 700, given the request for 70 interpreters for every 10 soldiers. This process unfolded through a somewhat convoluted tender, initially published on August 11, 2023, but then canceled and resumed over 6 months later. This delay is concerning, especially with the ongoing hostilities. The training could occur in various locations, whether in France or allied nations, but it's crucial to note that private personnel are strictly prohibited from engaging in any combat operations. The stakes are high, and clarity in these operations is essential for success.
The recent conclusion of a framework agreement for specialized military training for the Ukrainian armed forces in France has raised eyebrows. With an estimated contract value in the millions, the involvement of the French company DCI has sparked suspicions of irregular selection processes. As offers are being submitted, the tender notice has already seen corrections, and now the Administrative Court of Nancy is involved. Themis has filed an appeal, alleging abuse of power and seeking to cancel the award procedure while demanding compensation. This situation highlights the complexities and controversies surrounding military contracts in Europe.
Le 12 septembre 2023, le tribunal administratif de Nancy a transféré une demande au tribunal compétent de Strasbourg. Juste 3 jours plus tard, une commission de l'armée française a annulé un appel d'offres, invoquant des raisons d'intérêt général. Puis, le 25 septembre, le juge strasbourgeois a rejeté l'appel, le qualifiant d'irrélevant, mais a tout de même condamné l'État à verser 3 000 € de frais de justice. En janvier 2024, le ministère des Armées a relancé un nouvel appel d'offres, avec une date limite fixée au 26 février et une formation prévue pour le 1er juin. Finalement, le contrat a été attribué à DCI, respectant ainsi les nouvelles conditions. Une saga juridique fascinante, n'est-ce pas? Défense Conseil International, ou DCI, est un pilier de l'exportation française dans le secteur de la défense. Né en 2000 de la fusion de 4 entreprises, DCI offre un savoir-faire unique à nos partenaires. Imaginez des formations militaires, un soutien technique et logistique, et même des conseils sur le transfert de technologies. Que ce soit pour les forces terrestres, navales ou aériennes, DCI s'attaque aussi aux défis modernes comme la cybersécurité et les drones. C'est un véritable pont entre la France et ses alliés, renforçant la sécurité mondiale tout en partageant notre expertise.
With 50 years of experience, our company stands as a global leader, operating in over 45 countries with a dedicated team of 850 employees. We train 2,100 individuals annually across 23 centers in France, generating a turnover of 230 million euros in 2020. Our president and CEO, Samuel Fringant, leads a workforce where 80% are high-level professionals from the armed forces and intelligence services. Recently, the French state sold 21.56% of its shares, allowing the ADIT group to boost its stake to 66%. This strategic move has positioned us as a powerhouse in economic intelligence, with a projected turnover of 500 million euros.
DCI operates as a vital link between France and its military-industrial complex, enhancing the capabilities of foreign armed and security forces. By offering tailored solutions, like optimizing force organization and defining operational doctrines, DCI not only trains personnel, but also ensures the maintenance of vital equipment. In a time when anti-French sentiment is rising in Africa, particularly in nations like Gabon and Senegal, DCI is stepping in to fill the gap left by declining French troops. This discreet approach fosters lasting relationships with local elites, reinforcing France's influence while adapting to the changing landscape. In recent years, DCI has shifted its focus from the Middle East to Africa, expanding partnerships from just 3 countries in 2018 to 14 in 2023. This growth has generated an impressive 58.7 million euros in turnover. They've been training Algerian helicopter pilots, Rwandan aircraft mechanics, and even sailors in Senegal and Ivory Coast. Notably, they're modernizing the intelligence infrastructure for the multinational force against Boko Haram in Chad. This year, Africa could account for 15% of DCI's total business, marking a significant strategic pivot in their operations.
Côte d'Ivoire is stepping up its role in regional stability with a significant investment of 6.8 million euros. This initiative has established 4 infantry companies and an operations center, training over 1,200 troops to UN standards, thanks to 21 dedicated former French military consultants. These forces have already been deployed to Mali under the UN MINUSMA mission. Meanwhile, the French private security firm GEOS is now monitoring the crucial Atlantic port of Abidjan, a key logistics hub in West Africa. With France maintaining around 1,000 soldiers in the region, The strategic importance of Côte d'Ivoire continues to grow, especially amid discussions about military involvement in Ukraine. As the conflict in Ukraine escalates, discussions are heating up about sending Western troops and private defense contractors to the region. Le Monde reports that this comes amid concerns over a potential shift in U.S. support after Donald Trump's inauguration in January 2025. Remember when French President Macron first brought this up back in February? It sparked fierce opposition, especially from Germany. Yet the idea is gaining traction again. A British source reveals that talks are underway between the UK and France to strengthen defense cooperation, aiming to establish a core alliance focused on Ukraine and broader European security. The stakes are high, and the future of European defense hangs in the balance.
Le Monde révèle des propositions intrigantes pour le ministère de la Défense. La société Défense Conseil International, déjà active en France et en Pologne, se dit prête à former des soldats ukrainiens sur le terrain. Cela pourrait même inclure la maintenance de l'équipement militaire français envoyé à Kiev. Ce qui est exceptionnel ici, c'est que cette formation est confiée à une entreprise privée française, opérant sous l'égide de l'Élysée. C'est un tournant, car la France ouvre timidement des fonctions sensibles à des acteurs privés, un domaine où elle a toujours été réticente. Alors que les anglo-saxons, notamment les Américains, ont largement externalisé leurs services de défense, la France semble enfin franchir un cap, une évolution à suivre de près.
For over 2 decades, France has danced around the need for a robust ecosystem of private military and security companies. Defense Consile International, once a para-public operator, embodied this corporatism until its recent privatization. As global threats rise, especially from ruthless players like Russia's Wagner Group and Turkey, France must adapt. These competitors are not just encroaching on our interests, they're reshaping the battlefield. By leveraging private military forces, we can alleviate the burden on our institutions, retrain former military personnel, and reclaim our influence on the world stage. The time for action is now. For over 2 decades, France has danced around the need for a robust ecosystem of private military and security companies. Defense Consile International, once a para-public operator, embodied this corporatism until its recent privatization. As global threats rise, especially from ruthless players like Russia's Wagner Group and Turkey, France must adapt. These competitors are not just encroaching on our interests, they're reshaping the battlefield. By leveraging private military forces, we can alleviate the burden on our institutions, retrain former military personnel, and reclaim our influence on the world stage. The time for action is now. British businesses thrive, bolstered by robust banking and insurance sectors, while French companies struggle with growth and global influence. Yet, some firms like Themis and Amarante International break the mold, leveraging strong shareholder support to innovate and expand. As France aims to maintain its foothold in Africa, it's turning to reliable private companies, shifting away from outdated official channels. This pivot towards public-private partnerships is reshaping influence, allowing for swift, strategic responses with a lighter political footprint, ultimately paving the way for sustainable growth and renewed presence on the global stage.
The privatization of DCI marks a pivotal shift in France's defense strategy. Benoit Bourdat highlights the urgency of fostering strong private defense leaders to compete globally against dominant foreign players. With its backing, DCI is poised to enhance France's international presence, particularly in Africa and Eastern Europe. Imagine the potential in Ukraine's reconstruction or bolstering defense investments in Poland and the Baltics. This move towards privatization and embracing private military security companies signals a bold new direction for Paris, breaking free from outdated ideologies that have limited access to vital markets and influence.